Hey y'all, today we are going to be discussing all the books that I read in the month of August. Now, I read a total of 10 books, majority romance, as I feel like it always is. So here are a couple of my stats throughout the month. I had a really good reading month. I think 10 books is the most amount of books that I've read all year in 1 month. I guess there's a little exception to that, and I'll let you guys know once we talk about those books. But let's start off with the first book that I read in the month of August, and that was actually a fantasy book, and that was Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the third book in a trilogy. This is the Caraval trilogy, third and final book. So here we are really just kind of wrapping up our character story arcs, the plot, and it was amazing. Overall, the series is the 5-star series for me. I would recommend it to anyone and everyone. I absolutely loved it. This book specifically, I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun, very adventurous. We follow both of our sisters, Scarlett and Donatella, on one final mission to kill the all-elusive, very powerful fallen star who controls the fates. So if he gets all the power that he could possibly have, he will be extremely powerful and very dangerous. In this book specifically, the adventure is at an all-time high. Super engaging, the world is absolutely beautiful, and the dialogue is very fresh. I was also absolutely obsessed with the romance in here. Donatella and Legend are 2 characters that I'm obsessed with. They're characters that I'll be thinking about for a very long time. They made this series 5 stars. They're some of my favorite characters now. After finishing this, I really cannot wait to read more Stephanie Garber because, like I'm saying, her world building is beautiful. The way she describes things as well makes it super easy for the reader to picture, and a lot of it is very sort of gothic, but in a really pretty magical way. Not the spooky dark way, but like a nice fairy tale-esque way. So the next series that I'm going to start by Stephanie Garber is definitely Once Upon a Broken Heart. I think that's what it's called. It's actually on my September TBR, so very much looking forward to it. And what more can I say? I absolutely recommend this series to everyone. This book itself, 4 stars, a very good way to start off the month of August. Next up, we have a couple of books that I don't have on hand because they were actually library books and I already returned them. And those books would actually be books 3, 4, and 5 of the Heartstopper series. Now, this is the reason my book count is pretty elevated for the month of August, because these 3 books, or the whole series actually, is just graphic novels. So they're very quick reads. Yes, they're about 300 pages, but they're just super graphic novels. So there's like a very limited amount of dialogue on each page. And I absolutely love this series. All 3 books that I read in the month of August, I would give 4 stars to. So overall, I think I rated all the books in the series 4 stars. So I genuinely liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was flirty. It's about Nick and Charlie who are developing a romance. And it also talks about themes of understanding your sexuality, young adulthood, coming of age, a romance, mental health, a lot of very important topics that I think are necessary to talk about, especially for the age range that Nick and Charlie are in. So I felt it very appropriate, but I also felt it very fun. Like I mentioned, I don't think I would have rated this series 4 stars if I didn't genuinely like it and feel something towards it. And honestly, while I was reading it, I found myself just smiling, have a little butterflies, because the romance itself was just very pure and innocent, and it was nice to follow along that journey. Now, I think there's actually one more book that needs to come out in this series, and I think it might come out later this year or next year, so definitely gonna pick it up and finish it because I enjoyed the series. It is a YA series, so there is a bit of, youngness, youthness coming through, but overall, I really enjoyed it. 4-star series, would recommend. Next up, we have a thriller, which I do have here, and it is a thriller mystery, In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This author, I've really enjoyed her work in the past. I think this is the 3rd book that I've read from her. I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. Very much enjoyed. It has a past and present timeline. We follow our main character, Jessica, who is getting ready to go to her 10-year college reunion, and this college is a very spooky, very gothic, gives dark academia vibes. So I actually really enjoyed that aspect of the book. This is actually, I feel like, one of the first books that I've read with that sort of vibe, and it's also following 6 friends with Jessica included. That's a group of 7. So these 7 kids, or young adults, were super close throughout college. We get like the beginnings of their friendships, how they meet, and then we slowly develop their relationships. And the big kind of thing that happens in this book is that Heather, one of the girls in this this group of friends ends up murdered. So we start kind of uncovering different potential motives for each person in the group of friends. And honestly, at one point, I was fully convinced any one of the 7 could have killed her, because it was that, what's the word that I'm looking for? It was just that convincing. They all had motives. Obviously, it's not justified. I really couldn't guess who it was gonna be. I will say I really loved the setting, the location. There's frats, there's sororities that are talked about, and there's like secrets, drama, betrayal, and I loved that. That was my favorite part of this book. I feel like if it was written more as a fiction book versus a thriller mystery, I actually would have liked it more, because the whole time I know we were kind of working towards who actually killed Heather and uncovering that mystery, but honestly, like, I could kind of care less towards the end of it. I just wanted more of the secrets, the drama, the frats, the secret society type of aspects, the betrayals. Like, I just wanted more of that. So I feel like that was my only reason I didn't rate this higher, but 3.5 stars is still a good rating. I would still recommend. I actually really enjoy anything this author writes, so this included. I had a great time, especially for this upcoming fall season. I think if you haven't read this book, this is a great book to pick up or add to your TBR. Next up, we have a summer romance, actually called Same Time Next Summer, but I was actually throughout this month, trying to finish all of my summer TBR, and this was a book that was on it. It's Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. This is about Sam and her fiance, and they go back to Long Island, I believe it is, where it's like her hometown where she grew up, to spend some time with her family. And there she runs into her ex, Wyatt, who she had a once-in-a-lifetime connection with. Now, this whole book is really kind of exploring Sam and her relationship with Wyatt and her relationship with her current fiance. And I feel like the book made it so hard to root for her and her current fiance, because we didn't really get a fleshed out relationship. Her current fiance was kind of an a-hole. Like, he was not someone I was rooting for. He was not someone I wanted Sam to end up with. And then Wyatt, we get a lot of backstory. We get a lot of flashbacks of their developing relationship. And it gave me a reason to want him to be with Sam, even though she was engaged. I also fully understand why Sam and Wyatt broke up in the first place. Like, it was a very justified reason. And I really liked that aspect, because I feel like the reason they break up is not one that I have seen in any other book. And I thought it was really shocking and unique, and I was all in at that point. And then her current fiance, Jack, that was his name, he was just unlikable as a character. I was not rooting for him. Overall though, the book was entertaining, the vibes were perfect for the summer season, and the romance itself was interesting, because like I mentioned, you don't necessarily want to root for her current partner. So it's like, what am I doing here? Like, as a reader, am I cheering for and wanting this woman to get out of a relationship with her current fiance and go back to her ex? Like, that was me. Those are my real in-time thoughts when I was reading this book. So it's definitely a journey. You yourself will go on a journey thinking about these characters, and overall it was a 3.5 star for me. Next up, we have another fantasy book, one that I absolutely fell in love with, and it was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This was a 4-star read for me. It was so fun. Now, like I mentioned earlier with Caraval, or Finale, the last book in the Caraval trilogy, this one is gothic, horror, dark. It takes place in like Louisiana. There's magic, there's demons, there's all these sorts of people, like devils, that show up and make the story very spooky. So for spooky season, the fall season, this is the perfect fantasy book to pick up, especially because of the setting. The setting was definitely a standout for me. Now, the actual plot itself, this is about Ophelia and Genevieve Grimm. They are 2 sisters whose mother mysteriously dies, and so they try to figure out what happens, and then Genevieve, one of the sisters, runs away, and Ophelia, our main character, is kind of left to think that she may have joined Phantasma, which is a deadly 7 trials type of game in this like haunted mansion, and so she goes into the game and tries to find her sister. Now, on paper, I feel like this book is very similar to Caraval, and so I did go into this series kind of already thinking that, but if I'm being completely honest, I was fully immersed in this story and I really wasn't comparing it actively while reading it. So on paper, the synopsis and the actual plot may be a little similar, but they're 2 completely different stories, 2 completely different vibes, and I loved that because they really felt distinctly unique. So once Ophelia is in Phantasma, the winner gets a very exclusive gift, and it is a wish for anything they could possibly desire. So I liked that aspect as well because it gave it a fun little prize to try to get at the end of it. I will say too, this is definitely romantasy. There was a simmering romance throughout the book, which I was fully in for. I loved it. Our male main character, Blackwell, he is a standout character that I think you'll remember for a very long time. In the beginning, I feel like I wasn't fully immersed. It took me maybe like 75 pages to really get into it, but once I was in it, I could not put it down and I read it so quickly. So if you feel like it's a little slow at the beginning, I felt the same way, but then it picks up and it just straps you down and you're in for the ride. There's also mentions of OCD in here, which is very interesting, and I liked that because in the author's note at the very end, our author talks about why she did that. It was a deliberate choice, and it was cool to see because I feel like it added a lot to the story. I will say the ending, I feel like I did guess a little bit and it did feel a little rushed towards the end. There is a second book in the series, which is also, funnily enough, on my September TBR, so I will be reading it and continuing the series. Okay, moving on to book number 8 that I read in the month of August. Now this one, I don't have it on me. It was also a library book, which I already returned, but that was The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand, another book on my summer TBR that I thankfully was able to finish. And this book has definitely been on my radar for a while because I've never read an Ellen Hildebrand book, and I know she's a very popular author, this book being probably her most popular, so definitely was looking forward to it for a very long time. In this book, we follow a cast of characters really, so I really liked that. I thought it was fun. There was a lot of secrets, a lot of drama, a lot of gossip, so I feel like this is the definition of a beach read, and I feel like a lot of people describe it that way, but I feel like it's honestly that. Essentially, this story is about a hotel that was haunted, or that is haunted, and it's kind of deserted, but it gets rebought by an owner, and then our main character is hired on to work at the hotel as like the general manager, and she's tasked with hiring all the employees and trying to get this very elusive review from a review blogger, which that review blogger gives out like 5 keys. That's like the 5-star, and so they're trying to work towards getting that 5-key review. And so we hire all these different characters. That's really fun. We follow all these different characters, all employees at the hotel, which make it really fun. There's like interwoven stories. A lot of them get to know each other. A lot of them are kind of mysterious and don't want to share too much about their background. There was a specific character in this book that I feel like shocked me because I did not think I was gonna like them, but then their story, once it was like revealed, I was like, wow, like I just felt bad and I felt like endeared to the character. So it definitely does draw those bonds. You bond with your characters and it was a fun time. So definitely a 4-star rating because it made me feel something. I liked the story itself, the setting was very atmospheric and it was fun. Next up, we have another book that I don't have on me because I'm actually loaning it out to a friend, but that is The Compound. 3.75 star rating is what I ended up giving it. Another book on my summer TBR that I was able to finish. Now this one, I feel like I've seen it all over social media described as like Love Island meets horror mystery thriller, and that is what it is on paper essentially, but I feel like what makes it different is the love relationships vibe is not really what these characters are going for. Like I would not call this a romance book at all. It's like Love Island without the love aspect really. It's more like survival of the fittest. Essentially, this compound is a very interesting compound because every cast of characters, like the group of people that are currently in the compound, have just been put there mysteriously. They don't know how they got there. The previous tenants left it a big mess. And so I think the goal of the compound is to stay there as long as you can. Every time there's a guy or girl that's not like paired up for the night, they get booted. So obviously that's kind of the driving force between wanting to be in a couple, but they're not really like in love with each other. I feel like at the end of the story, the book was more about human nature, and I don't know, it was just very thought-provoking. I feel like that's why I rated it 3.75 stars. It was almost a 4, but I did have some qualms, so I didn't rate it 4 stars, but it was still thought-provoking. The end of the book was extremely abrupt, but it was for a reason. I know the author did that for a reason, so it really just leaves you as a reader kind of like, what the heck just happened? What did I read? What is going on? And so I liked that our female main character is not someone you necessarily root for. Her name is Lily, and you really don't bond with these characters. You don't fall in love with the characters. You're not invested in them, so that takes away from a story usually in my point of view. But I think it was intentional. Like, you're not really meant to like these characters because they can't, some of them are extremely unlikable and they're just doing what they need to do to remain alive and in the compound. In the compound as well, they have to do like tasks in order to get items. So that could be food, that could be shelter, that could be clothing. It's all these random things that you're like, if I were in that compound, like what would I do? What decisions would I make? What choices would I have to make? It just is very thought-provoking in that sense. So I did actually really enjoy it. I know some people, I like saw two of my favorite booktubers, one of them rated it 5 stars, one of them rated it 1 star. Like, it really is just that, what's the word I'm looking for? That scalable. Like, it really can go really high up on some people's scales and low. I know that is not the right word that I'm looking for, but it was the one that I thought of. So that was that book, a very interesting read. Now, the last book that I read and finished in the month of August was unfortunately a 2-star read, which is very disappointing because it was a book that I was pretty fairly anticipating, and that was Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. Now, I did not like this book. I did not like the characters. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the plot. If you've read Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, then I honestly feel like this was a cheap shot at trying to recreate what Magnolia Parks gave us and what she was. This is about a rock star and a supermodel who insta love, like that's the trope, who fall in love with each other and start developing a relationship. Now, I feel like with any supermodel and highly sought after rock star, there are going to be problems because of your job, because of your fame, because of the money, the temptation. That's very much highlighted in this book, and that was not an issue for me. One, I hated the male main character. Extremely unlikable in my opinion, rude, mean, like so many things that I was like, I want him far, far away from our female main character, who I didn't have an issue with. I liked her, but the male main character, I'm like, how am I supposed to be invested in a romance? And even if it's not marketed as a romance, it's a romance book. Like, that's what the main focus of the story is. I do not like that character. There is a sequel, but I'm like, do I even want to pick it up? Like, I don't like this couple. I don't want them to be together. I hate one of the characters. So like, what do I do, right? I probably won't pick it up. I'm not too sure. But I was very, very sad to come away from this book knowing and feeling it was a 2-star read, because I very much was not expecting that. But I did feel like Jessa Hastings was just trying to recreate the magic of Magnolia Parks, because it had very similar themes, the toxicity in a relationship, all of that. But this one did not do it for me. Magnolia Parks, the first book, also kind of didn't do it for me. It was like a 3-star. It was whatever. It was the rest of the series that really redeemed it for me. So that's the only thing that I'm like, if I read the sequel, are these characters gonna slowly get redeemed for me? I don't know. So yeah, I did not like this book. It was 2 stars for me. It was not fun. It was short and it was a quick read in that sense, but I would not recommend it, to be honest, because I just didn't like it. Now, those were all 10 books that I read in the month of August. I hope you guys enjoyed and stick with me as I read more books in September. So we'll just see how that goes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like, subscribe, whatever else you want to do. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.